Hey, some top 25 action tonight, some upsets, some conference action, and we're going to have Todd Lorensen, head men's basketball coach, Graceland Yellowjackets. Watch your scroll at the bottom of the screen. That'll have a good share of the scores from tonight. And of course, we'll go through the top 25 in some detail. Cascade Hoop Stock starts right now. Hey, the first thing we want to do this morning is congratulate Brian Van Haften. He's the head men's basketball coach, Dordt University. He's this week's Hoop Dirt Coach of the Week. Well earned. They're 14-0. That team is really on a roll. I can't wait to see when they run into Northwestern. Two teams on a roll. That's always fun. But anyway, congratulations to Coach Van Haften. Well deserved, well earned. Frieda Hardeman, well, they played Central Baptist again. This is turning it, I'm calling it a brewing rivalry. Third time they've played in, well, March, April, carry the 2, square root of 3, I don't know, 9 months. Third time they've played. None of them have been, you do not let any heart patients in to watch these games. Let's just put it that way. But Frieda Hardeman's won all 3. They did again tonight. In the second half, they were able to get a little bit of a spread on Central Baptist, but Central Baptist really battled their way back. I think inside the final minute, they got within 3, but they just couldn't get over the top. Frieda Hardeman goes to 14-1, and they're going to host Kaiser on December 31st. That'll be quite the fiery New Year's, won't it? Arizona Christian. They fell yesterday to Montana Tech. They played Providence today. They beat them 88-58. They go to 10-2. They had everybody on the team scored 10 points. S.A. Onakpomo, he had 10. Anthony Howell 10, and Eric Nicollet, and also 2 other guys. Literally, they had 5 guys with 10 points. As I say, they're 10-2, and they're going to play Concordia, Nebraska style on Friday. That should be a good game. Concordia is good. They've struggled a little bit, but they are a very, very good team. The Masters, they beat Montana Tech. This is just, to me, further proof of the NAIA's parity. Everybody's just kind of beating the heck out of each other. Montana Tech beats Arizona Christian, who looked pretty good. And then Montana Tech, wow, they look really good. And then the Masters beats them. Langston beat the Masters. It's just kind of a round robin of who's getting beat today. But congratulations to the Masters. It was a big win over Montana Tech. They go to 12-2, and they're going to host Stanton University on December 30th. So in this game tonight, Caleb Lowry, he had 14 points, 10 rebounds. And Quincy Phillips, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds. There was a little bit of Red River. I keep wanting to say River States, but in Little Red River action tonight. Tougaloo won a non-conference game. The only conference game that I got a score for is Houston Tillotson beat Texas College. I don't know what's wrong here, why Jarvis Christian can't post a score, but that's a different subject for another day. Here's the updated standings. They're still the same. LSU, Alexandria, Our Lady of the Lake, and Xavier are kind of dominating the conference right now. The games they are play again on Thursday, so watch for that. LSU Alexandria is going to play Texas A&M San Antonio. Shreveport's playing Our Lady, or I should say Our Lady of the Lake is playing Shreveport, and Xavier's playing Southwest. So all 3 of those top teams are playing teams that can beat them. So keep an eye on that. That's Thursday. Montana Tech, as we said, they fell to the Masters. They are 11-1 now, and they'll host Kings out of Alberta on December 28th. Northwestern, Somebody needs email me some more superlatives or hyperbole words or whatever for this team. They're amazing. These numbers, look at what these Van Kalsbeek, I'm not going to call them the Van Kalsbeek boys, these Van Kalsbeek men, look at the numbers they're putting up. 28, 7-7 for Jesse, and the old man, Alex, 29, 4-4. I mean, that's big boy basketball. That is unreal, and they're doing this night after night after night. They go to 13-0. They're going to play Weber International on Wednesday down there in Florida. That's going to be ugly. I'm telling you right now. That's not going to be pretty. Bethel University, they fell to Ave Maria tonight. I'll go through that more when I get to Ave Maria. Tough loss for Bethel. They fell to Florida Memorial last night. Florida Memorial had a really good night. Latavius Mitchell played really well. And then tonight they had to go into Ave Maria. And Ave Maria is a really tough place to play. They fill it to capacity every night. They have students wait outside. And if a seat opens up, they let one in. I mean, they're to capacity every night. So it was a tough night for Bethel to try to get well. Ave Maria won this 94-82. Bethel goes to 10-3, and they're going to host Cornerstone on December 30th. Grace, they're down in Texas, and they played Nelson. Everybody knows how good they are. They beat them 95-71. And I said this last night, you go into anybody's gym and beat them by 24, especially a team like Nelson, you're starting to hit on all cylinders. Carter Stoltzfus, 14 points. Ian Roush, 14 points. And look at Ian Scott, all over the place. The Energizer Bunny had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 steals. What a night. Incredible. He is so athletic. I know I tell you that every time, but you got to watch this guy play. They're going to host Goshen on January 4th, and they're 11-3. Okay, we're going to talk to Todd Lorensen. He's the head men's basketball coach at Graceland. He's doing a great job there. I think they're 12-1, I believe. And if you remember, he was at Mount Marty in the GPAC, and he really did a good job of turning that around. He's kind of getting a name as a turnaround coach. We talk a little bit about that. But let's listen to Todd Lorensen, head men's basketball coach, Graceland Yellowjackets. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Todd Lorensen on the phone, Graceland Yellowjackets. Thanks, Todd, for taking a few minutes to be on with us.
Yeah, certainly appreciate you having me and all the coverage you give NAIA sports, which we both know is great basketball and sometimes doesn't get the exposure it deserves.
So, Coach Lorensen, you've been around a little bit. You ended up in Graceland, I think, in 2022. Started out there as assistant, and you've been head coach a couple of years. What was it that brought you to Graceland?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting journey. I was living in Des Moines, Iowa, where my son goes to high school, and just kind of doing the thing of being a dad and following his teams and coaching his AAU program. And my current assistant, it's a very unique story, Matt Dickman, knew Taylor Langley pretty well, and was actually in conversations with him about joining staff at Graceland, and just wasn't the right time or move for him at that point in his career. And I was in Des Moines and knew I could commute back and forth, and didn't personally know Taylor, but just said, hey, I'm going to reach out to him and kind of see what he's thinking. And we met in Des Moines, had some coffee, and I think it was 2 or 3 days later, I was wearing a Yellowjacket polo. So a very unique scenario to get there. And then that first year with Taylor, we had a nice year going 18-11, and then just his family situation with his wife and kids still living in Michigan, pulled him back to his home area. And I was fortunate enough to get the bump up for administration, and have been thankful to have the opportunity.
It seems like everywhere you go, you're getting a reputation, let's just say, as a turnaround coach. Not a bad reputation to have. But when you first walk into a program, what are the first few things you look at? What are the first few building blocks that have to be in place?
Yeah, it's a fun terminology to have your name kind of connected with, but ultimately it comes down to people, no matter what organization you're part of. In this case, we're talking about college basketball. But I've been pretty particular as far as evaluating administration. When you look back to the days at Mount Marty, Chris Casson was a strong athletic director,
Yes.
and Dr. Mark Long was a president who valued athletics. So that was a situation that I felt the pieces were in place if the right individuals were there to be able to make a nice jump, even though the GPAC's as strong as we both know it is. And when you look at Graceland University, our athletic director, Brady McKillop, he was a coach himself for a couple decades, so he knows what it's like to be in these shoes, and just had an administration at the top that valued athletics. And we certainly don't have it all here at Graceland University, but we always try to look, or I try to look at, do we have enough? It's like a lot of things in life. We don't have to have it all, but there has to be enough meat on the bone, whether we're looking at scholarships, whether we're looking at operating budget, just the campus facilities, and I just felt like Graceland was a place that definitely had the ability. In 2017, they did win a national title when Craig Doty was here. So that was enough proof to know that it could be done. And, being friends with Craig was someone who I reached out to immediately just to kind of get his perspective. So I felt pretty strongly coming into the situation that Graceland is a place where, you could be successful. And now we've been fortunate enough to have some solid success in my 2.5 years.
Well, that's kind of interesting. So obviously, you look at the administration, but it sounds like you look at the whole the university as an organism. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you.
No, you're right. I had a colleague tell me at one point in time that players win game, coaches can really dictate win conference championships, but administration is what wins national championships. And when you look across the board at, let's talk Division I basketball, there's a reason that certain institutions, with their background and their legacy programs, they're always good. It's because they've always valued it from an administrative standpoint at the highest levels. When you get to small college athletics, those, dollar figures obviously change drastically. For us, it's about scholarships, operating budget, and staffing. When you look at the big boys now, it's turned into what is NLI when it used to be, what are facilities and what is fan support. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But for us, in my perspective, it comes down to, do I feel like there's an administration that's going to support us at a level to at least reasonably pursue conference championships? And if you're good enough to win a conference championship in the heart, I think you can reasonably expect to compete at the national level.
You coach. Before I talk about your team, I got to ask you one more question. So it's hard to break into the top 25 if you don't start there. And you broke in. I don't remember where you are, 23. And as it seems to go every time when somebody breaks into the top 25, then you fell at and it had to be at Grandview. Did you feel snake bit when that happened, or did you just take it in stride?
Yeah, it was one of those. I don't think it was a trap game per se. We're coming off the big road victory at William Penn.
Yes.
We get into the national polls for the first time. I believe in program history since Division I and Division II have combined. So your ability to get in there just became harder. And, Grandview is a tough place to play. I'm an alum. Dennis Schaefer is a mentor of mine to this day. And we knew our roster that night was going to be a little different. We had a key player that was going to be out with some family emergencies he had to attend to, and another player who was out for, an unfortunate disqualification the game before. So we knew there were going to be a lot of things going against us that night. All of those things considered, we still had many opportunities to seize the moment and win a basketball game on the road. So credit to Grandview for having a player that hit a big shot at the buzzer to win the game. It was a great win for them. And thankfully we bounced back and got two since then, solidify, I think, our national rank.
Yeah, I think those last two wins were really important as you get back on track after that loss. I want to ask you about your team. You're pretty balanced, Todd. You offensively you're strong. You're defending pretty well. I look across the board. You're pretty balanced. Don't really have any one thing that's carrying you, and you don't really have any real weakness that when you just look at the team statistically. I want to ask about a couple of your guys. Cole Bowen, he's just a double machine, isn't he? I mean,
yeah, he's an exceptional player, and I know it's the coach speak, but he's the kid that takes coaching all day, every day. You can be tough on him, you can get on him when you need to, and he's just he's a great leader by example for our team and our program, and his ability to score off the bounce, his ability to score with his back to the basket. have made him a very tough matchup for multiple teams. And the scary part is he hasn't shot the ball well from the arc to this point.
Right.
But we firmly believe he could be a 35+% 3-point shooter. So as he continues to have that kind of trend where we truly feel it's going to be, I think he's only going to become a tougher matchup for teams night in and night out.
I asked so many coaches this question, but he averages over 10 rebounds a game. He's only 6'5". What makes him a tough rebounder?
Yeah, I mean, if you see him, his teammates have nicknamed him Captain America because he is just a physical specimen. I mean, when you see him, he looks like he was, carved out just the way a body should look. So he's a strong physical dude. He's not a great athlete, but he's a really good athlete. He's not, the tallest guy in the world, but 6'5" is great size for a guard forward type that he is. And then the biggest key is he's relentless on the offensive glass. I mean, he attacks the offensive board each time the shot goes up, which has allowed him to get 17 offensive rebounds through 8 conference games. And then defensively, sometimes his matchups change. Sometimes he'll guard big, sometimes he'll guard small. So when he guards big, he's done a better job of getting a body on guys. When he's guarding small, a lot of times those players aren't attacking the glass. So he's a great out of area rebounder. So I guess to his credit, he's able to rebound in multiple areas, which has allowed him, to be in double digits over 12 games.
Captain America. I love that. I got to remember that. Coach Carson Bush and Carter Brown, they're not struggling from the three. They're both averaging or over 40% from the three. They really make your offense go, don't they?
They do. They both bring different things to the game. Carter can really get his feet set in a moment's notice and get a shot off, even as a defender is really trying to take away those opportunities. Carson doesn't get that off quite as quickly, but he's probably a better creator and finisher at the rim. So if folks do get up into him a little bit, he's able to drive and make some plays off the bounce. And, I say that, but Carter's done a great job. I mean, his assist to turnover ratio is over 3 on the season, 3-1. So they're both doing a really good job there. And, through I think it was like 7 or 8 games, Carson's 3-point percentage was only in the low 20s. And, we were talking about it as a staff, like this isn't what it's going to be. We know this is going to, recalibrate how it should. And it certainly has. And even in our game yesterday, we had I think a 10 or 11 point lead with 6 minutes to go. And he had a corner 3, and it hit the side of the backboard, which should never happen. And we were kind of like, well, is that a shot we want? Well, if they're not going to guard him there and he takes 4 or 5 more of those over the last 5 or 6 minutes, I got to believe he's going to make at least 2 of them. And sure enough, the next 2 threes he hit, or the next 2 threes that he got were wide open and knocked him down. So, it's one of those, I don't think you can instill confidence in guys just by telling them to take shots and be confident. But both those guys work on their craft at a high level. So they've earned the right, which is something we talk about a lot, is earned confidence. They both have earned the right to be confident. When they get an open look, they need to fire that thing away.
I want to talk to you about Darius Davis as well. He's really important to your squad. But I want to ask you about that point. You see this all the time. Now, as a fan, you're watching. How do you manage that when you have a guy who's 0 for 6 from 3 or one of these streaky 3-point shooters? How do you make that decision? Do you ever pull him back, or do you just trust that a shooter is a shooter? How do you manage that? The situation I'm talking about, a guy just...
Yeah, absolutely. I would say for the most part, we don't try to get involved in that. The only thing that we'll maybe say is like Carter Brown, for example, I referenced, he can get his feet set and get that thing off basically in possession that he wants. So if he's hit 2 or 3, now what is an open good shot for him changes a little bit. It comes down to now, if you get the ball and you can get that thing off, that might be a good shot for him. Whereas if you've missed 2 or 3, to start the game, maybe that 3rd or 4th one needs to be one where you have a little more space and you've got a little more time and it's a natural fluid 3. So at the end of the day, if they're open, we're never going to ask them not to take that shot. But what the good shot is may change just slightly based on how the start of the game goes for them as far as, misses.
So it sounds like mostly you just trust them to make good decisions, take good shots.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to trust them. But there might be a time, Carter in particular, I'll just throw or be a timeout and say, hey, if you're open, you got to fire that thing away. But let's just kind of change what we consider open for these next couple of minutes until you let one go through the rim, and then you kind of go back to standard operating procedure at that point.
I want to get back to your team. Darius Davis, you and I talked about him just a couple of minutes before we started. He's kind of Mr. Everything for your team.
Yeah, I mean, Darius is a returning starter for us. I think he's one of the best defenders in our conference. 6'3", extremely strong, unbelievably athletic. He can really guard one-on-one in space. He can guard on the post against, bigger post players. So he's really valuable just because of his versatility defensively. He's probably our best offensive rebounder. He's at 31 offensive rebounds on the season through 13 games, so doing a great job there. And he's just a very charismatic guy, really quiet, humble human being, but he's just got this smirk and smile, when he makes a big play after he knows how much time he's put in to be successful. It's just very rewarding to see him have the success that he has to this point. I'd be remiss if I didn't throw another couple of guys into that pool. Darius is a returner. Jai Smith is a returner. Jai is a guy that's always been a valuable addition to our program, even when he wasn't contributing on the floor. And this year he's made the adjustments to his game that has allowed him to remain that same positive influence to our team, but also provide great impact on the court between the lines as well. So really proud of both those guys. And then the other guy would be J. Wiley, which he's kind of a funny story. I give him a hard time. I recruited him 3 times. The first time was out of high school, told us no. The second time was out of JUCO, told us no. And actually a 4th time because he was in that time frame where the COVID year hit. So he could have left JUCO after 2 years, but he was technically only going to be a sophomore the next year. So he went back to JUCO for a 3rd year. So out of high school, after his 2nd year at JUCO, after his 3rd year at JUCO, and then he became a D2 transfer to us this season. So wow. 4 times we recruited him and finally got him. But, he comes from a great program at Creighton Prep in Omaha, and he's just been a really steady force for us. And the last 2 games he's played really, really well.
Oh, I love that. I love that story. Well, you're persistent, Coach. I'll give you that.
Persistence can pay off in this case.
Before I let you go, I want to ask you about the Heart. William Penn is tough again. Baker looks really good. You're going to play them right after you come back from break. And any team, Central Methodist, I don't want to start naming them all, but any team can get you any night. Just talk about the Heart.
Yeah, I think the Heart historically is a tremendous league, as you referenced already, from top to bottom. Anybody can unite. Conference play is a gauntlet, and we're in a situation right now with 13 conferences where we're playing a full double round robin, so 24 conference games. It just wears on you. Every Wednesday and Saturday you got to bring. There's no off days. William Penn definitely appears to be back to kind of who they were with the exclusion of last year. I do think Baker is really good. They've got all the pieces. They're a veteran group who's been to back-to-back national tournaments. Sean Duke, tremendous coach. They added some added perimeter ball handling and shooting with a D2 grad transfer. So they definitely have all the makings to be a team that can reasonably feel like a Final Four and championship run is a viable option for them. But at the same time, I think we pose challenges for teams like Baker. So we're definitely excited to have a little time away over the break here. But when we get back, we will be extremely focused, knowing that we have a huge task at hand going to Baker on January 2nd.
Well, that's going to be one of many games that a lot of people are really going to be paying attention to when we come back off break. That's going to be a big game, not only for your program, but for the conference and the national picture.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting one coming back from it. One of my first bosses when I was an assistant, we always said, Todd, we can't win the game in the first 5 or 6. We could lose it. And when you look at a season landscape, it's the same thing. You can't make a championship run in the first half of the season, but you could keep yourself from making one in the first half of the season. So I feel really good about, where we've positioned ourselves. And going to Baker is going to be a new challenge, win, lose, or draw. There's still going to be 14 games that are going to drastically impact our ability to qualify for conference positioning and home games and national tournaments. So although it is a very big game and it could have ramifications for seeding and conference tournament, maybe even in the national tournament, but at the end of the day, we have to focus on making sure that we're getting better each day, that we come to the office and trust that over the course of the next 15 games, our body of work is going to be enough to put us where we want to be.
Well said, Coach. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to be on. I'd love to get you back on. More we could talk about, but let's do that again as you get a little bit deeper into this Heart battle.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you having me. And once again, I really do appreciate your coverage of NAIA basketball and making sure that they understand how great of a level this is. And wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Oh, thank you. And to you and your family as well. Thank you. That's Todd Lorensen. He's the head men's basketball coach, Graceland University. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot, Todd, to Coach Todd Lorensen and to the Graceland Yellowjackets as well. Lorensen's a really good coach. I really enjoyed him at Mount Marty, and it's good to see him have some success there at Graceland. Okay, so speaking of the Heart, there was a few games today in the Heart. Clark defeated Missouri Valley. A little bit of a surprise. Culver Stockton beat Benedictine. That was a bit of a surprise. And Peru State won. Not a surprise. Let's look at the standings. They're about the same. Baker and Graceland, they're going to play right after the first of the year. And then Peru State and William Penn. And Park is just a little bit back. But here, these games look January 2nd. Graceland, Baker. Big game. And it's at Baker. So Baker will definitely be the favorite. William Penn's going to play Benedictine. Benedictine's down in the standings a little bit, but William Penn is pretty good this year. You know, they were down last year, but they're punching right now. You can see right here, they're only, they're a game behind Peru State. They're quite a bit behind Baker, but they're punching their way, trying to get back up in there. Central Baptist tonight, they fell to Freed Hardeman. We talked about that. So Central Baptist goes to 11-3, and they're going to host Crowley's Ridge on January 7th. Merry Christmas to Central Baptist. What a way to have to go to Christmas break. Ave Maria, we mentioned they beat Bethel. In that game, Jack Watkins, 20.7 rebounds, and Michael Kleckis, 18 points, 5 rebounds. So the Gyrenes, they go to 11-3. And they're going to be at Florida National on January 2nd. You can see a pattern developing here, can't you? Kaiser University, they defeated their GPAC opponent tonight, 82-62 as they beat Hastings. And they're going to host Johnson on Wednesday. In this game tonight, Calvin Sermons, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. And big Vince Miskowitz, he had 20 points, 16 rebounds. The guy's just a machine, total machine. The HBCU was in action tonight. Philander Smith got the win. That was an important win. Virgin Islands fell to Rust. That was probably the big news coming out of the HBCU tonight. That's a tough loss for the Virgin Islands. Tougaloo played a non-con with Louisiana Christian. So Stillman, Tougaloo, and Southern Suno, they're all within a half game, and then Philander Smith is also a half game back. So that it's pretty tight. Have to keep an eye on this race. So Wilberforce is going to play Suno. That's going to be a good game. Another one hold it. January 3rd. Sorry, I didn't tell you the date. See, pattern after first of the year. And the other one to really watch is Tougaloo against Fisk. Tougaloo has to keep winning. They're, again, half game back from Stillman. So that'll be another big game after the first of the year. Hey, that's all I got. I really appreciate it. Are you going to tune in tomorrow? You better. Guess what? We got Ted Elbert. He's the head men's basketball coach at Indiana Tech, one of the best guys around. You know, he was at Cornerstone for 475 years, played there, was a hardcore Cornerstone guy. Went over to Indiana Tech, and they play in the same conference as Cornerstone. I always love that dynamic. But Coach Albert is a super intense guy, but he's one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. So tune in tomorrow. Ted Albert, Indiana Tech University. For now, that's all. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.